Well, just before we get started, guys, a big shout out to the man himself. You see him right here. This is Mr. Marc Thompson. If you've ever listened to a Star Wars audiobook, you've definitely heard his voice bringing the galaxy to life. From Jedi to Sith and everything in between, Mark's performances, they're next level. And we appreciate you here on the channel. Mark, how are you doing tonight?
Oh, I'm doing great. Thanks for the introduction. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm very excited to have you here as well. Um, for those who are tuning in this week, we're going to be talking a lot of Dark Disciple, Quinlan Voss, Asajj Ventress, and pretty much what kind of sparked this interest in getting Mr. Marc Thompson on here this week is this book is something that I've loved for quite a long time now. And a good friend of mine told me to try the Audible, get on the app, check out the performance here. It's amazing. So the I'm not too big of a bookworm,
Mhm.
Mark. It's not me. I get lost. Sometimes I get in the
Yeah.
wave of reading and I'm like, wow, I just read 20 pages, but I just lost a lot of context, you know?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Um, but the audiobook, it blew me away. I mean, I didn't know that this story that I loved already could be enhanced to the max. I mean,
Oh,
it's
wow.
amazing. The work you do, the sound effects, the overall story being told through an audiobook is just insane to me. I mean, this is amazing. So, yeah, Dark Disciple. What are your thoughts before we kind of really dive into it? What are your thoughts on Dark Disciple, like as a story?
Yeah, well, thanks for saying all that. And a huge portion of that, the credit goes to Kevin Thompson, who directs a lot of these, if not most of these Star Wars productions, and he's been doing it for so long, and he's so skilled at it that he really knows how to direct the narrators, but also just enhance everything with the music and the soundscape and all the effects and everything. So he and Paul Goodrich are really amazing, and they're they make anybody sound better when with all the magic they do. So um yeah, I mean, it's so cool. I actually didn't look at the questions before we started, so I didn't know that's what you wanted to talk about. So I think that's really cool because it was written a while ago at this point. And I do notice that, like, a lot of fans go back to that one, and that one really resonated with people, and it resonated with me. Like, the story itself was so impressive because it took a character that I wasn't necessarily sympathetic towards with, Asajj Ventress,
Yeah.
and kinda really made me feel stuff for her, and just the deep dive on Quinlan Voss and just getting to know him, and, uh, I was really moved by that story. It was Christy Golden that, that's the author, right? Christy Golden? I
Yeah.
get them confused. Yeah, yeah. Um, did an amazing job. It was I remember in the recording of that one that was one of the first books that I kind of, teared up in at certain moments. I don't know how spoilery we're getting, but, that it moved me to tears in the booth. So, I really connected with it a lot. Um, I think it was a great one at showing how sinister the dark side of the Force is and how manipulative Dooku was. Um, and just it was one of the first books that, um, I like the balance of perspectives between the light side and the dark side, and just the way
Yes.
some of the, philosophical debates maybe that Quinlan and Asajj might have, or and how they're kind of affecting each other and seeing the ways that it's, maybe changing their perspective on things. I thought was really, really interesting. So
Yeah, man, it's one of those stories that I just find myself absolutely just falling in love with it over and over again. And all these, all the different times we see Asajj Ventress throughout the Clone Wars, the little bit of screen time that we get Quinlan Voss in, and Quinlan Voss with the amount of screen time that he has, he's a top four character in my
oh, yeah.
opinion on
Yeah,
my
yeah.
list. Absolutely love him. The guy looks awesome.
Yep.
He's definitely, the maverick of the Jedi Order, and through Dark Disciple and even the one episode you get him in the Clone Wars series, I mean, you really get to see that. But I personally think that there's just so much more with Quinlan that can just get even more Star Wars fans kind of
Yeah.
tuned in with him, and even Asajj Ventress. I mean, she's we know her as well, but I mean, she's very limited um to that sense. But yeah, we'll touch back on Dark Disciple, but something I wanted to kind of really get started with was basically your career as a voice actor. Um, the first question I do have here for you is: did you always know that you're going to use your voice for storytelling, or did that kind of develop along the way?
No, I had no idea. Um, 'Cause I just knew pretty early on that I wanted to be an actor. Like, I loved being in, like, plays as a kid, and my mom kinda noticed early on, so she got me involved in, like, local improv kind of classes and
Mm,
singing and voice classes, and for a while, I thought I would kinda pursue musical theater, and I kinda that was almost my focus going to college was, like, I would do that, and kind of, fell into voiceover. um, I just auditioned for a cartoon my sophomore year. It was called, Daria, and it was on MTV, and, that was my first kind of job, and then it was one of these weird things where one thing just kept leading to another, and, like, once I had that on my resume, I would go out for other auditions, and then people might recognize that, be like, "Oh, you should try out for this cartoon over here," and, so I kind of fell into it. But in an odd kind of twist of fate, like I mentioned before, Kevin Thompson directs, a lot of the Star Wars books, and he was directing a different cartoon, at the same time that Daria was being recorded, and we both have a memory of meeting each other at Sync Sound. And, like, he was working on his show, I was working on my show, and that was many, 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 many years before we ended up working together on the audiobook, so it maybe it was like the force guiding us together, yeah. But, so yeah, it was kind of a happy accident, but, I'm very, very happy that it happened because it's now one of my favorite things, so I'm
that's
kind of like you in that, growing up, I wasn't much of a reader, and I probably have undiagnosed ADHD, and it's hard for me to kind of focus. Um, but through the process of getting hired and learning to do the audiobooks, I'm kind of becoming a fan of reading now. But I hear from a lot of people that the audiobooks are a way to help people have access some of those stories because they also might find, reading not as natural or challenging for different reasons, and, so it's cool to know that the audiobooks are helping in that way, and I probably would've been helped by them greatly if I had, listened to them or was aware of them when I was younger, so
right, yeah, and well, I feel like Audible, they make it so affordable these days. I mean, there's so many different plans that you can go through. I mean, my wife told me earlier today that she picked up a public library card and they have
Yep.
access to so many audiobooks. And I'm like, "Oh, babe, this is great."
Yeah.
Like I can get even more now. It's not just the one book a month. So
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to that. And I'm also finding myself with the Legacy of Vader comics. Just picked those up this week, and the comic book reading, I mean, that's perfect for me, you know.
Yes.
So kind of dabbling in with those, I'm kind of finding myself more so wanting to read more. So
Yeah.
hopefully this can help me get back into the novels a little bit more.
Totally. Yeah. It's a gateway drug.
Yeah. It's a good one. It's a good
Yeah,
one.
yeah, yeah.
Um, but and then kind of moving into Star Wars, what does a typical Star Wars audio recording session look like for you?
Well, it usually starts well before I get in the booth, like, um, because I still am a bit of a slow reader, it takes me a while to work my way through the whole book, and, what I'm doing is I'm, like, writing down everyone who's speaking, I'm trying to find character voices for them, and then when we get in the booth, um it's, performing that and, the editors make me sound flawless, but, there's a lot of stopping and starting. There's a lot of mispronounced words. There's a lot of, like, what is it? Is it Twi'lek or Twi'lek? Like, which is it?
Right.
So it's a lot of, back and forth, back and forth. Um, but usually around, like, day 2 or day 3, I get into a bit of a rhythm and can start maybe kind of ping-ponging back and forth with the characters and having more of a natural flow to the conversation and narration, so, but yeah, we're usually there, 5 days, and it's usually, like, 10 AM till 5 or 6 at night,
Mm.
um, and it's just, read, 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 like, I find that, like, I'll just to help me focus, I kind of turn off all the lights, and I have a iPad that's projected to a monitor, and I just try to, like, get as tunnel vision as I can on the story and try to just focus as much as I can and be in the moment and be in the story as much as I can, so
Oh, wow, that's a cool little process there. I mean,
yeah.
eh, that helps you get locked in, as the kids say these days, so
Yes.
wow, very, very cool. Like, also too, with it being dark around you, like, kinda when you're getting that tunnel vision when you're going into, you know, the narration of one of these stories, is does it help more so that you're maybe reading a dark side character? Does that help a little bit with the ambiance
Yeah.
and the aesthetic like that?
Yeah, I think so, and honestly for all the characters, because it just, if I'm not seeing the engineer or people getting lunch orders, or if I not seeing notifications from my phone or whatever, and if it's just kind of dark around me and just the words, it helps me it helps my imagination to kind of fill in, like, what might be around me. But if I'm seeing, like, The Office or, like, average everyday stuff on Earth, then that it kinda takes me out of it a little bit. So it's like, yeah, but so sometimes I used to, I moved somewhat recently, but when we used to record in New York, uh, one of the engineers noticed this, and then she would try to help me by, like, there were certain, like, LED lights, and, like, so if it was, like, a dark side book, she might turn, like, the red light on,
Oh,
or, like,
yeah.
if it was a Jedi book, the blue light would come on, and at one point, she had, like, a picture of, like, Starlight Beacon on the monitor next to the script to help me kind of, be in the mood, so she would do stuff like that to try to, help that
That is
feed that.
amazing.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, man, helps you get in the mood, and, like, obviously, I don't do what you do, so kinda picking your brain here and, like, what the process looks like for you, like, almost gets me even more excited to dive deep into another audiobook. I mean, it's just to know what you go through and how it's delivered is it's actually awesome as hell, like, that's great.
Oh, cool.
Um, and then kind of the last one here, do you approach reading a Star Wars book differently than watching a Star Wars project?
Oh, yeah. Well, okay. It's like when I'm watching a Star Wars project, I feel like I just get to be a fan and I just get to kind of absorb it all, and I suppose there's a part of me that is filing things away for reference for later. Like, "Ooh, what's that alien and how do they sound?" And, "Oh, like, who do I know that person? Like, is that, so and so that's voicing that?" So there's a part of me that's still happening. But for the most part, it's just like taking it in and just, enjoying it, and there's nothing like the first time you see any of those things, because it's like you're just taking in the story, you're taking in the vibe, and it's like, "Oh my gosh, this is so cool," and then on future watchings, you're doing a little bit more of the analyzing and like, "Oh, right, what's this connection?" Um, but when I'm doing the book, I'm still able to enjoy it, but I've got a little bit more of my work hat on, and uh, I'm analyzing, okay, what needs to be foreshadowed here? Like, what do I gotta make sure I'm highlighting for what's gonna show up in the next chapter? Or, gosh, as I'm reading this, I'm like, "What voice am I gonna do for this guy?" Like, "Wow, this guy is really interesting," or he reminds me of so and so, like, how am I gonna do that? And, well, if I do this voice for that guy, what then I can't use this voice because that'll sound too similar. And so there's a bit more of, kind of a work hat on when I'm doing it. But there's certain books, and Dark Disciple was one of them, where, they're written so well that hat gets taken off a little bit, and I'm able to more just start to see it as a movie in my mind. Or, that one, I had the advantage of watching the Clone Wars, so it was very easy for me to kinda see those scenes playing out as if it was those visuals.
Yeah.
Or like some of the Thrawn books, when I read those, they're so well written that it's easy for me to kind of stop focusing so much on technique and just start getting carried away by the story. So it's fun when that happens, but, eventually that hat has to come back on and you gotta do all those things. So it's a little I guess it's somewhat different, but yeah, like, there are moments where I get swept up in the story and forget, like, "Oh, right, I need to find a reference for that guy because I'm just like, "Well, what's gonna happen next?" You know? So, but so I guess it's a balance. That's a talking out of both sides of my mouth here, but, yeah, so
Sweet, yeah. That's awesome. That's really cool, because like you mentioned, like the way you watch the Star Wars project, you just kind of look at it as a fan. And me, of course, I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I love it. But at the same time, I feel like I always find myself trying to analyze so much going into it. And it's like, let me enjoy this first, and then I'll
yeah,
go back
totally.
and really like pick up the story. But I mean, and I feel like that's kind of a thing nowadays, especially in the Star Wars universe. I mean, this fandom is all over the place and it's one big fandom. So
Yeah.
there's so many different things for fans to like, not like. So yeah, I always with a lot of things that I kind of stress on my channel is just kind of let a lot of these stories marinate a little bit, give it
Mm,
time, let it be told.
yeah.
And I mean, staying off the internet's another great thing to kind of,
Yeah.
form your own opinion.
Yeah,
But then again, I mean, it's a double-edged sword, but at that point, I mean, there's so much in Star Wars, especially from a lore standpoint to even a fan stance, just liking what you like at the end of the day. I mean, there's so many good things to pull from.
yeah, totally.
And I mean, that is, I mean, going straight into Dark Disciple. I mean, like I said earlier, Quinlan Voss is one of the most mysterious characters. I mean, Boba Fett mysterious, but on a completely different level. Like, take out
Yeah.
the book of Boba Fett. Boba Fett was one of the most mysterious Star Wars characters ever. And I feel like that's kind of how I look at Quinlan Voss. I mean, there's just so much, like I said, he's so cool looking. He's, flirtatious, mischievous. He's, kind of a badass, at
Yeah,
the end of
yeah.
the day. He's never at the temple. So this is a different Jedi. Um, but just to kind of start that, I mean, have fans ever shared with you how your narration affected their experience of the story? I mean, kind of like me, not the biggest reader, but of course, this story I'm completely pulled to. So, like, have you ever heard that before?
Yeah, no, I've been very fortunate, where people I've gotten to go to some conventions and kinda talk with people one-on-one, or some people have found my email and found a way to kind of, send me messages and, um, it's everything from, people really connecting to the story for personal reasons, people liking the performance, um, getting them through hard times, which is always super inspiring. Just that, that it was a way to escape, or it was a way to decompress and kind of, take their mind off some of the things they were going through. So, it's very, very powerful. Yeah. And, Dark Disciple is one of the favorites. Like, that's definitely one of the ones that people, refer back to a lot and really enjoy. Christy did an amazing job. A lot like, it's just so much of that is her writing and her really understanding those characters, or showing us a different side to those characters, so it was really deep. It kinda catches you off guard because you think it'll be like, "Oh, it's like just another episode of my favorite Saturday morning cartoon." And then it's like, "Whoa, like, this is really
Yeah.
deep?" So, yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, and that's the thing too with Dark Disciple is it's really one of a kind, and it's it's one of those stories where you look at Asajj Ventress from how we've seen her in the Clone Wars, and she's almost a completely different character. I mean,
Yeah,
it's you see some of those callbacks to how she used to be, and I mean even at the tail end of the Clone Wars, she kind of transcends into being on her own. Basically, she's not with Count Dooku anymore. She's not more so fighting against the Jedi. She's trying to like figure things out on her own, but Dark Disciple shows this completely other story to her, and
yeah.
it's amazing how we could have seen this in the Clone Wars animated style, and it's
I know.
pretty intense.
Yeah. I mean, I assume you saw, Tales of the Underworld, or
Oh yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah. So that was fun because, like, we at least got to see a scene. So, but it didn't make you crave it. It's like, "Oh, I want more." Like,
oh
is
my
that the thing?
goodness. Well,
Yeah.
that's the thing with Tales of the Underworld. Of course, they did that Disney slash Fortnite promotion for that. So
Oh, yeah.
the way you got to see the first two episodes was on Fortnite 2 days early.
Oh, I
So I
didn't
was like,
even know. That's cool.
"Man, I don't play Fortnite. I
I
don't do
know.
this." You know? So
Yeah.
I asked my friends how we can get into that, some of my good buddies play Fortnite, and they taught me how to get into the game and kind of go forward into finding Tales of the Underworld. And
That's
I,
funny.
I I know people are just looking at me with my bare skin, like they
Right,
got
right.
all these V-Bucks buying these cool skins, and I'm just a generic guy over here just and they
Right.
kinda have like a theater set up. So you
Oh,
sat
that's so
down
cool.
you sat down and you got to watch it like on a big screen, but you could also make it full screen on your TV.
Oh, that's so
And
neat.
man, it was so cool, and being able to experience that with my friends, we're in the same lobby, same
Yeah.
party, and they're not too big into Star Wars, so they're like, "Wait, where are they at? Like, why is there so much water? Why are they dipping her into the water?" It's like, "Guys,
Uh-huh.
shut up, don't talk."
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah,
I
yeah.
I need to
Yeah,
take this in. I've seen this before, but not with my eyes, so you guys need
right.
to be quiet. But yeah, Tales of the Underworld, that's a see, and I love that experience too, is because I got to
Yeah, that
spend
was
it
awesome.
with my good friends, and yeah, then that story altogether was great, even, Cad Bane, in that
Yeah.
story was something else, but yeah, man,
And
Asajj
I'm
Ventress,
so glad they,
awesome.
like, totally honored Dark Disciple. They didn't just, like, retcon it or just erase it. Like, I'm so grateful that they found a way to kind of dovetail it into something that made sense and obviously gives you more questions, like, but it felt very true to the spirit of the story and plausible that that could have happened that way, and I'm wondering if we'll get a
Yeah.
reunion, and it'd be really
Yeah, that
cool.
one. Whew, it makes you think, man. That was such an awesome experience, and that's kind of the same thing, and that's how I felt with Dark Disciple, and I always want to. I can't stress it enough. Is the audiobook really just changed that story for me? Something that a story I love so much, and it's like, how does this get better? It's kind of like Revenge of the Sith. When after you watch the Clone Wars, it's just nothing but enhancement towards
Yeah,
Revenge of the Sith, and you're like, how could this great story get even better?
yeah.
So but, also, we did talk about it earlier, which is awesome. Now we can kind of touch back into it. With Dark Disciple being very emotional and tragic, how do you prepare yourself to capture that depth or that feeling?
I mean, it's a lot of, some of it's imagination, some of it's maybe drawing on personal experience of, like, having to say goodbye to someone or having to having, lost someone, um, all of those things, um, you know, kind of tie in there. I mean, I feel like my technique is more trying to be present in the moment. I don't I don't do a lot of sense memory exercises of, like, trying to, like, remember stuff from my childhood or things like that, but I try to really just immerse myself in that character and really try to really imagine being in their circumstances and trying to kind of, just really be present in the moment, and then that's where I find a lot of the access to the emotions that are there, and then, the challenge with recording that is, um, sometimes you wanna be really soft and introspective, but it's too quiet for the microphone to pick up, so you have to, like, you can't get so self-indulgent that you can't be heard, and then there's other times where you wanna just rage and scream at the top of your lungs, and then the mic is, peaking and, so I have to, like, do it again and turn off to the side, or they have to turn me down or, so, um, there's a balance between being in the moment, but also being technically accurate or being, performing it in a way where it can be heard by people. So,
Yeah,
and sometimes I get into trouble with, the editors because it's like, "I can't hear him," or like, "It's too loud." So because I go up and down a lot, and, but Ke Kevin indulges me and allows me to still play with that, which I really respect and am grateful for, and if it's really impossible, then we'll go back and do the other take, but he'll let me play like that, and I think it helps me allowing me to do that helps me find those emotions. If he
right.
were overly concerned about the technical aspect of it, I wouldn't be able to find the emotions as easily because 'cause I'd be constantly worried about finding the right volume level or diction or, and he lets me experiment with that, and then if the experiment is too far, then we find a way to find the middle ground, but I wouldn't be able to find it if we didn't let me first explore it. Um, so yeah, I think I feel like that really helps me get there.
Damn, that's cool. That's nice to know that you have a good team
Yeah.
around you, and that basically unlocks your potential to be, to deliver the story. As I feel like you kind of have it rough, man. I feel like you're trying to deliver the story from a perspective to where you're like a story like this in particular is like there's so many feelings and emotions on almost every angle, from Quinlan to Asajj to Dooku to even Obi-Wan sitting in the background. I mean, you can
Yeah.
feel all of those emotions. So I mean, yeah, that's awesome that you have that support system as well.
Yeah, it's pretty special, and it's not I mean, there's other directors that I've worked with that are great as well, but there are some that they're more focused on, speed or, the technical aspect of it, and that's not as fun to do, and I feel like it's not as great of a final product, you know what I mean?
Mm,
And so the fact that, Penguin Random House and Kevin, wanna create the best quality that they can, I think is what makes a lot of these books stand out is they're not, just trying to kinda get through it or just trying to, crank out another one. It's like they're really trying to
yeah.
make them the everyone that works on them, like Nick Martorelli, who's the producer on these, is also a big Star Wars fan, and,
Mm.
like, everybody deeply, deeply cares. Like, everybody's really trying to make it the best it can possibly be, and I feel like that really comes through in the final product, so,
Wow. Yeah,
yeah.
that's cool how that kind of all comes around full circle. I mean, I mean, I could only imagine on the outside how this story completely comes together on your guys' end. So that's very interesting to hear. Well, with Dark Disciple being that way, with the feelings and stuff, emotions, is there a certain character? I know if you're not trying to connect to a certain character from what you've experienced in your life, in Dark Disciple, is there a character that you kind of lean more towards, whether it's kind of your favorite, if you have a favorite? I don't know if you look at these characters as your children, there's no
Yeah.
favorite. Um,
Totally.
how do you look at some of these characters in Dark Disciple?
Well, yeah, like, I'm trying to kind of understand each of their perspectives. Um, I think I naturally gravitated a little bit more towards, Quinlan Voss, and I think not like I tend to gravitate more towards or I find connection more towards the Jedi in general. And so even Quinlan was a bit of a, he blurred the boundaries maybe a little bit.
Mm.
Like, so
Tiptoeing on
that
both sides?
yeah, that part maybe, but I liked the scenes where maybe he was trying to explain to Asajj aspects of the light side of the Force, and, I'm a bit of a romantic, so and I hope we're not spoiling anything too big here, but, like, the fact that the romantic feelings that get spurred there and, you know, uh, their relationship I connected with and I related to. And so, and even to like being in a situation where does your affection for this individual what do you do with when your affection for this individual contradicts what your worldview is? How do you reconcile those two things? And I relate to that. There were I don't wanna get too personal, but there were moments where I could see that there were things that were maybe overlapped there, and I was like, "Oh, wow," like, for some, girls in college and stuff like that. So, but yeah, it was, I really connected to that and just that kind of, like, internal wrestling match, and, like, uh, kind of these, like, 2 impossible, seemingly contradictory desires, like, how what do you do with that, So, um, I thought that was really insightful on Christie's part, and I could relate to that, so
Awesome. Yeah, that's something you also think too. Like when I first heard about this scrapped arc from the Clone Wars. I'm like, whoa, so like Quinlan Voss is supposed to have more, more screen time. Are you kidding me? Is
Yeah,
Taz Ventress after, her run-ins with Anakin and Ahsoka after everything had went down? Like, whoa, this is insane. And you're trying to tell me that these two fall in love somehow? No way. There's
yeah,
no way whatsoever. Like
yeah,
it's insane how that story can be captured and like fleshed out to us fans, like
yeah,
how are we supposed to take that in? Because we
right.
grow up with the Jedi, like no matter how far you go back with Star Wars. I mean, Luke Skywalker, telling Grogu he can't give into attachments. We see it
Yes,
with
yes, yes,
Anakin Skywalker. This is why he turns to the dark side, for Christ's sake.
right.
I mean,
Yeah, 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 yeah,
so you're telling me a Jedi and Quinlan Voss is falling in love with a dark side user, an ex assassin from for Count Dooku?
yeah.
Like this is insane.
That's awesome, and it's one of the things I've come to love about the books is because as much as I love movies and television, that will probably still be my favorite way to digest Star Wars,
Yeah,
but the books are so special because you can take, movies you might get 2.5 hours, TV shows you might get 16 or 20 hours in a season, so that there's a little bit more time there, but, like, books, you get, like, 10, 12 hours on, like, one story, and, like, you're really getting into the inner monologues of everybody. You can really unpack the motivations of everyone. It's so much more detailed, and it's this luxury that the books give you that a half-hour episode wouldn't or a 2-hour movie wouldn't, and it's so like, you really get to spend so much more time in these characters and what these characters are thinking and their backstories, and so the books are awesome for that reason, and they do just they enhance everything, because like,
yeah,
it does change the way you watch the Clone Wars or you watch Tales of the Underworld or you watch, even the films, like the novelizations of the films have totally changed how I view those films because there's so many things that get fleshed out in a deeper way in the books that you just don't have time for in the films or
yeah.
TV shows, and so, I think they're great for that reason, just 'cause you get to really do the deep dives on stuff, so
Yes, I know, and there's sometimes even with, like, The Mandalorian or the Kenobi series, I'm like, "I need this I need more." I know this is a
yeah,
series. It's
yeah,
better than a movie because it's all squished into about 2.5 hours, but these series that are lasting up to, maybe 8 to 10 hours collectively,
yeah,
it's like, I still need more,
yeah, totally.
But that's a good point with the books because I mean it goes on for a while and the inner monologues that's another great thing and I feel like those are really prominent in Dark Disciple. I mean, there's so
Mhm,
many things you learn about Quinlan Voss. You kind of figure out why it would kind of make sense why he's not at the Jedi Temple
right?
for the most part, as Kiadi Mundi would be, Obi-Wan, Mace Windu. Like Quinlan is not on that side per se. He is a different character more so. And I feel like, you said you relate kind of more with the Jedi. You kind of resonate more with them. And I would say so more so myself. I mean, not I don't really fall into the Sith. I mean, I don't know. I'm not a hateful person, I guess. I don't know why I would be on the Sith side, but the light side it's a great thing, but even characters like Mace Windu who kind of dabble on both sides and but
Yeah,
is able to keep it straight. That's something cool with Quinlan Voss, and knowing that if you hadn't read Dark Disciple or even just read maybe a Reddit thread on Quinlan Voss and his times in Dark Disciple, you don't really get to understand that character, and it's kind of like you're missing out if you don't know about Quinlan Voss in that
oh,
sense
yeah,
because he's a completely different character than what you would expect from the Jedi Temple.
yeah, and then on the flip side, it's like, I feel like you get to really understand because it's easy to maybe dismiss the Sith or the dark side characters as, well, they're just evil, but then, well, like, when you start to unpack, like, what happened to Asajj, how she was manipulated by Dooku,
Mhm.
what happened to the Night Sisters, and just, how they were abused, it's like you start to even if you don't agree with their decisions, you start to understand their decisions, and I think that's a really interesting perspective to have as well, and it makes you, I don't know, like, maybe, understand it, but I'll have some compassion for them, and then also maybe want to it makes their redemption arc make a little bit more sense, you know what I mean? Like, when you
Oh yeah.
see, okay, this is where they were coming from, but, like, and then almost you root for them in a deeper way that, like, now in Bad Batch and Underworld, seeing her come around and finding her way and kind of being this Ronin and, like, maybe somewhere in between the 2. It's super exciting to see that because you know everything she's been through and you understand it and.
Yeah, that was the thing. I also, especially from the Bad Batch, even the very limited amount of time that we get to see her and seeing her with that yellow lightsaber. I mean, what is that scream?
Right,
If
right.
you
Yeah.
read the book, you
Yep.
understand, you get it, and
Yeah.
that's yeah, it's really cool, that they didn't more so retcon that story because we get to see it pretty much fleshed out and everything that she had been through. Fighting off, Wrecker and Hunter, like that was amazing to see because it's like, yeah, she has her guard up no matter what. How many times has she fought clones? How many times has she seen those faces before? So it could be a little traumatic to a sense, but seeing the character of Omega, being a young child and being able to sense that she is special is really cool to see with Asajj because that's just character building right there. And
Yeah,
in just
totally.
that little bit that we could see her in the Bad Batch, I mean, it was amazing. It was just like a continuation.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, Bad Batch was a good job. And another thing I really wanted to, kind of touch on, it was Tales of the Underworld. I mean, knowing what she goes through and of course getting the end of Dark Disciple basically brought to life. And that, man, I don't know how many times I've seen that beginning. I mean, I don't know if that's the most watched thing I have on Disney Plus right now with our new account. I mean, it's just insane.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
there's so much to take. And I mean, just recently on my last podcast episode, I was talking with a friend about how, like, what was that ride like in the starship, taking, Asajj and just being with Obi-Wan. Like, what are those feelings? Like, you got to think about Quinlan Voss and Obi-Wan. I mean, Obi-Wan's had a love interest before,
Right.
in Satine. So I mean, he can understand. And of course, this is before he sees the fall of Anakin as Padawan with Padme. Um, so I mean, it's just insane to know, like, what are these characters going through, and that walk is just when they're walking on Dathomir, it's just so sad, and you just feel it
Yes. Yeah,
right in
yeah,
your
yeah, yeah,
chest.
yeah.
You're just like, oh no, and like knowing that Asajj is unalived, in everything that they went through with
Yeah.
Dooku and the sacrifice and just, it's just it hurts, man.
Yeah.
It hurts.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, it was definitely a journey, and it was really fun to perform, and I really loved that one because having watched Clone Wars as a fan, I had all their backstories just in me, you know what I mean? Like, I knew the history of Obi-Wan and Satine, and so the sadness that he feels, it's not just judgmental or "How could you, Quinlan?" But it's like, he gets it, like, he gets, like, what that's about, and then also the foreshadowing of Anakin and Padme and just, like, there's all that stuff to draw on, um, so yeah, and it was really, really fun, and it felt like a cool, just on a high level, it felt like a cool kinda moment in Star Wars history to be a part of because it was like, it was cool. It was like this, like, artifact of, like, this is an unproduced episode, so
Ah,
we're producing it, so that's pretty neat, so
oh my goodness. Yeah, and that's the thing too, is like you lived Dark Disciple. I mean, and I know that was just rewarding in such in a huge way just to see that come to life. And it's such a strong moment, and especially like Obi-Wan, for instance, like we were saying, him not even saying almost a single word that entire, you know, opening crawl is that the actions speak a million words. And knowing Obi-Wan, I mean, we've known him since A New Hope, and seeing him in his own series all throughout the prequel trilogy,
yeah.
it's just crazy to just feel what he's feeling. It's just like everyone does such a great job in that little 2-minute take right
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
just it's so strong.
It was like, the first time I saw it, I was like, "No way, no way, no!" Like, 'cause it was like,
What?
everything was from the book, and I was like, "Get out!" Like, I just couldn't believe it. I was like, "They're doing it, they're doing it," 'Cause that was
Oh
my
my
biggest
god,
concern with the trailer. It was like, well, like, I hope they don't ignore all this, but, but they didn't. Like, they really honored it, and it was so elegantly done and so simple and, like but, like, they didn't over explain it. Obviously, I'd love to hear more about what what happens with the tear and the love and how that affects the spell, but, like, it was enough that it totally made sense. It totally honored everything that came before and made a way for everything that's gonna come after, and I just thought it was so brilliantly done.
man. Yeah, and that's another thing too is like the tear and the water and the the voice and the magic of the
Mhm.
Night Sisters was my friend when we were watching it on Fortnite, he was just kind of like, "What? Like, so is she never going to be able to see him again? Like, what's going on? You know, like it's so weird. It seems like she has to sacrifice not seeing him to be alive again."
Right, right,
And
right.
I was kind of like, "Damn, he don't even watch Star Wars, and he's on to something." Like,
Yeah, 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 yeah,
you're right, bro. You're saying
yeah,
you're working here. So that was, the tear and the spell coming back. It's just like it makes you think all over again. Like, and she had the chance to go with Lyco on the
mhm,
in the hidden path, and she turns it down, and it's just like,
yeah.
what? Like, no massage. So we'll see something one day. I bet
I hope so.
it's how it all comes together, and even in Bad Batch, I was kinda thinking like, "Oh my are they gonna show something from Dark Disciple? Like, are they just gonna give us a little tidbit or a
Yeah,
flashback?
yeah,
Asajj telling Omega something that she's dealt with before, and we get, like, a little vision, kinda like the Order 66 flashbacks, we get something like
right.
that, but, yeah, we got it in Tales of the Underworld."
It's awesome.
It's so cool, but well, I mean I just want to say thank you for joining me tonight. I mean, this was awesome. I've really never got to talk to anybody who's had a part in Dark Disciple. I mean, a book I love. I feel like we could actually talk about it for a really long time, but I really just wanted to dive into these characters, Quinlan Voss, Asajj Ventress. They're two very very underrated characters in my opinion, and to get the chance to talk with you about said characters is amazing, man. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. This was a very fun conversation.
Yeah, and also is there anything you'd like to tell the people here on Clan Brandalorian? Is there anything that we should look forward to from your end? Is there anything new coming out that you can talk about?
Yeah, actually, we just finished recording, Master of Evil, which is a Darth Vader story, that takes place kind of between episode 3 and episode 4. So it's yeah, I can't go into too many details, but it's really, really well done, and it's very creepy and, like,
Ooh,
full of, like, dark side type stuff and, like, lore, and, it almost feels like a horror movie, which was kind of unusual, and so that one will be coming out in November, but pretty excited about that one, so that's pretty great, yeah.
awesome. And that is the cover with the kind of like
The
distorted,
Yeah.
creepy mask, and you can see the eye.
Yeah, 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 exactly, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, so I know what we're talking about. See, and then now I got another audio or Audible token to use next month, or
Yeah.
we'll see how this library card looks. But that's awesome. Yeah. So I feel like a lot of Star Wars fans are wanting that Darth Vader film or that rated R Darth Vader film that
Oh,
everyone
yeah.
always talks about. So hey, maybe this could be that little treat right there.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, with everything being said, I hope you guys enjoy this episode. Make sure you subscribe down below and leave a like. Let us know what you think of having Mr. Mark Thompson here on the channel. And with all that being said, thank you once again, Mark, for joining me. This was amazing, man. Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it.
But all right, with that being said, guys, we'll see y'all in the next one. This is the way.